delightful picnic. The weather was perfect, and the sun gently shone on the edges of the clear spring. I brought a basket full of delicious treats and a book to read. Everything was set for a fantastic day. But when I reached the spring, something unusual caught my attention. A strange creature with large eyes and a luminous body stood by the spring. At first, I thought it might be a mirage, but as I got closer, I realized that the creature was real. My heart started pounding, and a strange fear twisted inside me. The supernatural being, seemingly aware of my presence, gave me a deep and penetrating look. Its eyes glowed like two glass orbs, and its face conveyed no emotion. I wanted to run away, but my legs felt as heavy as stone and I couldn't move. The creature slowly approached me and said in a voice that seemed to come from afar, "Do not be afraid. I will not harm you." Its voice was calm and soft, but each word echoed in the air. I didn't know what to do. Should I trust its words or not? The supernatural being extended its hand towards me, and without knowing why, I raised my hand towards it. When our hands touched, a warm and radiant energy transferred from it to me. I felt that maybe this creature meant no harm, but I still couldn't shake off my fear. The creature began to speak and told me stories of other planets and ancient civilizations. I was captivated by its words and forgot how terrified I had been. But every now and then, when its gaze fell on me, fear would grip me again. Day slowly turned into night, and the creature was still beside me. It did not leave me, and I could not leave it. My adventure with this supernatural being continues, and I do not know what the end of this story will be. As night fell, the supernatural being suddenly transformed into something else. Its previously expressionless face now adorned with terrifying lines and a mouth full of sharp, pointed teeth. Its eyes, too, had lost their previous glow and turned into two red flames that shone in the darkness of the night. I noticed the air getting colder, and a thick fog began to envelop the garden. Strange and otherworldly sounds were heard around me. The creature, now with a harsh and frightening voice, said, "The night is ours." At that moment, I felt an invisible force pulling me to the ground, and I couldn't move. The creature came closer to me, and I could feel its cold breath on my face. Its hands, now resembling long and sharp claws, reached out to me. Suddenly, a voice from afar was heard, a voice like a mournful whisper. The supernatural being paused for a moment and then looked up at the sky. I took the opportunity to stand up and run, but my foot caught on something and I fell to the ground. Looking down, I realized that the roots of the trees had wrapped around my legs, holding me in place. The supernatural being approached me with a terrifying laugh and said, "You cannot escape from me. You are now part of this supernatural world." And I, while looking for a way to escape, realized that this was just the beginning of my adventure with this supernatural being. On that dark and foggy night, I struggled to free myself from the roots that bound me to the ground. The supernatural being, with a laugh that grew more terrifying by the moment, was approaching me. But just when I thought everything was over, another voice echoed through the air. It was a familiar voice, the voice of my grandmother, coming from afar. She always said that our garden was magical and held memories of past generations. Her voice was like a mournful and sweet melody that sang against the darkness of the night. The creature seemed to be affected by my grandmother's voice for a moment. I used this chance and pulled with all my might on the roots to free myself. And with some unseen help, the roots loosened, and I managed to escape from them. I ran towards my grandmother's voice, and the more I ran, the louder and clearer her voice became. When I reached the edge of the garden, I realized that my grandmother was standing by the spring, smiling at me. She extended her hand towards me and said, "Don't be afraid, everything will be all right." When our hands met, I felt warmth and safety. The supernatural being, which could no longer approach me, looked at us with a sorrowful gaze, and then slowly faded into the fog and disappeared. My grandmother told me that our garden had a protector that would keep us safe from the darkness, and I would always be safe. And from that night on, I never saw the supernatural being again, but I always feel that my grandmother and the protector of our garden, even from afar, are watching over me. And I know that I am never alone, even on the darkest and most terrifying nights.